I'm sitting in a parking lot of the middle school that my children would attend. And this, I feel, is a pretty appropriate place for me to express some things. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say things like, it's time we start talking about this. Because the time to start talking about this, that passed a long time ago. And I'm not going to sit here and give you some catchy slogan like a YouTube video with a bunch of celebrities on it or something and say, not one more. Because there will be one more. There'll be more than one more. And I'm not going to talk about thoughts and prayers, because thoughts and prayers are a good thing. Don't get me wrong. But in situations like this, thoughts and prayers really just make you feel better. They don't stop people from getting shot. They don't stop mothers from crying over their children. They don't stop fathers from being gunned down at concerts in Las Vegas and not returning to their kids. They don't prevent brothers and sisters from never coming home. They make you feel better. They make you feel like, well, I did what I could do. But that's not what we can do. There's a lot more that we can do. Now, in the aftermath of any shooting, mass shooting, school shooting, any type of shooting, a couple things are guaranteed to happen. One, the left is gonna talk about background checks and banning assault weapons. The right is going to respond with guns don't kill people, people kill people, and there's good law-abiding citizens. We can't infringe on their Second Amendment rights. And every once in a while, both sides will sprinkle in some talk about mental health. Ironically, it seems that one side of politics keeps doing things to make healthcare more difficult for people to get. Healthcare would include mental health, right? Mental health care. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about mental health. Not really do anything about it, though. And in Congress, there's going to be speeches, powerful speeches, emotional, and people will play them over and over and post them on Facebook and Twitter. And late night talk show hosts, they're going to have emotional words to say and get choked up, and that's all real. I'm not doubting those emotions. They're going to say some good things, and then eventually they're going to say something like, well, now we're going to get back to the business of making you laugh, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to put a smile on your face so you can go to bed happier. And there's going to be lots of Facebook debates and lots of passionate arguments, and people are going to say, you know what the answer is? The answer is this, and no, the answer is this, and no, the answer is this. Well, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of having those dreams where I am put in a situation like these people down in Florida where it's my kids in my school. And so what I'm going to talk about now is our compromise. And that's an important word here, compromise. Because it's not going to just be one thing. It can't be. It can't be one thing or the other. And if there's no compromise, as I just said before, nothing's going to change. And I don't want nothing to change, and you don't want nothing to change, and not even the people in Congress or the president want nothing to change. I believe that. It's just a matter of how we can change. And there is a way. There is a way we can change. And I'm going to express some ideas about how we can change things. Not stop them, not prevent them all out, but put the odds just a little bit more in our favor. Because that's what you can do. That's all you can do. You can just play the odds. So let's play some odds here. All right. You want to buy a gun. That's fantastic. You have the right to buy a gun. I'm going to talk to you about a couple things here. And I'm going to talk to you about what should happen. I'm going to talk to you about our compromise, because my starting point is getting rid of these things. Doing what Australia did. Doing what virtually every other civilized country did. Just get rid of the damn things. But we're not going to do that in America, and I know that, and I can understand that, and I can respect that. So you have to meet me at the table. You have to come to the table, because if you're not willing to come to the table and seriously consider some of these compromises, then you can no longer claim to care. You can no longer claim to want to do something to stop this, to prevent it, to reduce it, to do anything. You can't claim it anymore if you're not willing to come to the table. So I'm coming to the table first. First, background checks. Now, we're going to hear a lot in the next few days and maybe even weeks about background checks. Democrats in Congress are going to talk about background checks and universal background checks and background checks. And you know what? For most places, the majority of places where you can buy a gun, there are background checks. And it's a 7 to 14 day process that you go through a background check. And it's no more intricate than when I'm hiring somebody at my job and I submit their information, at least the information that they gave me. And the company that my company has hired to do their background check checks them out, make sure they don't have a criminal record, yada, yada, yada. If you work in business, if you work in management of any kind, you know that a lot of times you submit a background check and 3 days later it's back, because that's what they did. They went, hey, let's search in this massive database for information about this social security number. Okay, they're not a felon. Rock and roll. They can get a gun, or they can get hired. And that's it. That's all it is. Now, if a person wants to be a police officer, they go through background checks too. And this is important because the background checks that they go through, they take like 30 days, sometimes even more, because they're doing a real background check. They're checking everything they can. They're seeing if there's any known or potential aliases and then doing checks on that. And why? Why do we do that for the police? Because we're trusting the police with a certain amount of power and with weapons. Cops have guns, right? Cops have power and authority. And we want to make sure, we want to do our absolute best to make sure that they're not crazy people. And we don't even have the best track record with that. We all know the bad apple stories, right? With police and the background checks that they go through. So here's what we need to do. You want to buy a gun? Fantastic. You're going through a 30-day background check, a deep background check. And if you pass that, congratulations. You still can get a gun. And your Second Amendment rights have not been infringed on. Now, after you pass your background check, actually during the 30-day process of your background check, here's what needs to happen. You need to go and get a full mental evaluation from a mental health professional at your expense. Because, hey, you're the one who wants to buy the gun, not me. So you're going to pay for that. You're going to pay for a full mental health check with a mental health professional. And that mental health professional has the right, if they get any type of senses about you with their whatever they do, their line of questioning, and they think maybe this guy's not all there, maybe, this guy shouldn't have a gun, then you don't get your gun. I'm sorry. But if you pass that, congratulations. You still get to get your gun. And your Second Amendment rights have not been infringed on. Now, this proposed mental health check brings up a lot of other questions. And the main one is, well, how can we even afford that? I mean, do you know how hard it is to get into a mental health facility? And if I have to pay for it, I mean, this is not fair. This is not. You're right. I understand what you're saying. So, the government needs to open federally funded mental health clinics across the country where these evaluations can happen. It's creating jobs. Rock and roll. More people who want to get into the mental health industry to help other people get into psychology and psychiatry and all that stuff. Hey, man, we got more jobs for you because of these government-sponsored, government-funded mental health facilities. Now, remember, this isn't all on the taxpayer's dollar, because if you want to buy a gun, you're footing that bill. Okay? You're paying. Now, at the same time, these mental health facilities can serve another very important purpose, and that is giving our veterans, free of charge, mind you, because our veterans have earned it, they can go to these mental health facilities for anything they need, for treatment for PTSD, for treatment for depression, because our veterans deserve that. So we're helping our veterans, and we're taking a very important step in making sure that the odds are in my favor and your favor and our kids' favor, and preventing shootings, mass shootings, school shootings, helping prevent it, taking a step, doing something instead of sitting by. So that's step 2. We got a new background check. We got a mental health system that's specific if you want to buy a gun. Step 3, you've passed these 2 things. Congratulations. You got to do one more thing. You have to attend, pass, and be certified in a course that teaches gun safety, gun maintenance, cleaning of your weapon, proper operations of the weapon, just like you do when you take a driver's test, right? You want to get a license, you go to a school, you pay for it out of your own pocket, and you go and you take classes and you take tests and you watch videos, so you know the impact of the responsibility you have behind the wheel of a car. You can do the same thing for a gun. And you know what? You pass. Your Second Amendment rights have not been infringed on. Maybe you've been inconvenienced. Well, you know what? Your inconvenience is worth my life. It is worth my children's life. It is worth every person walking around and breathing this air in this country and in this world. It is worth their life. Your inconvenience is worth it. And if you want a gun so bad, you can do that. You can sacrifice that. And you know what? Because I'm all about compromising and I'm all about coming to the table, I'm not even going to sit here and say we ban things like the AR-15. You want to have an AR-15? I've shot an AR-15. It's a fun gun. You can have an AR-15. But you can't have 2. You can't have 4. You can't have 12. You can't have 17. Because you don't need that many. And there's a big difference between need and want. You're a collector? Great. You got an AR-15 in your collection. Congratulations. And your Second Amendment rights have not been infringed on. So yeah, there needs to be a registry. And that registry is not so the government can track who has guns and yada yada. Well, it'll be scary, big brother. It's not that. It's because your inconvenience is not more important than my life, or my kid's life, or the life of anybody walking around and breathing the air of our country. And that is our compromise. And if you're not willing to come to the table, you don't care. There's no other way around it. And if all that stuff sounds, man, that's really harsh. That's a lot. I see what you're saying. But you know what? It's a long way removed from we're banning them all. We're taking them all away, isn't it? And that's our compromise. And my thoughts and prayers are that you'll meet us at the table.